Welcome back, listeners, and I just wanted to mention a few things before the podcast. On March 18th and 19th, we'll be having our second art show at the Dirty Water Distillery on Water Street in Plymouth. If you're interested in submitting a piece, just follow our Facebook page. There'll be information posted when the time comes. And if you're interested in coming to the art show, again, it'll be on the 18th and 19th. It'll run from 12 to 5. You'll be able to cast votes for People's Choice. There'll be trophies given away and some ribbons and some prize money, and you'll be able to get to check out some cool art and taste some excellent booze. Come down to the Dirty Water Distillery and check out our second biannual art show. If you're not going to finish that comment, I'm just going to fill in shit.
Don't worry, I'm just going to edit it to make you sound like an asshole anyway.
I don't think you have to edit it to make me sound like an asshole. All right, so welcome back to Inebri-art podcast. We are recording here at the Craft Beer Cellar in Plymouth, Mass. Kind of one of our favorite places to record. And if you ever get down to Plymouth, make sure you stop in. You can build your own six-pack from microbrews from all over the country. World. Porters, world even. Porters, IPAs, ciders, whatever you fancy, they have
mead.
It. They do have mead as well.
Yes.
And we are here with our good buddy Roman. How do you pronounce your last name? Because I'm terrible at that sort of thing.
Lomeli.
Lomeli. We met Roman at one of our life drawing events. I think it was the first time we met you. You showed up. We didn't really know how that happened.
I saw a flyer in the pisser.
In the pisser, our extensive advertising campaign, poster in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, he's been a fixture at our life drawing, and we've befriended him. Cool guy. And frankly, we brought you in here to talk dead bodies.
Dead bodies.
Roman is a industrial designer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you work for a major pharmaceutical chain, which I don't know if we'll mention because I don't.
Probably not.
Yeah, it's probably just best to leave it at that.
Yeah.
And so you basically design surgical implements.
Yep, I design surgical instruments and implants.
Oh, and implants.
Implants too, yeah.
Like
the stuff.
I'm a dude like breast plants.
No. Although our company does make those.
Yeah.
And I have seen prototypes, and they're very interesting.
Do you get to take home samples?
No.
Like what kind of implant? Like stints or shunts and that sort of thing? Or?
Yeah, like screws.
Oh, like surgical screws and that sort of thing.
Stuff that you plates. It's not very exciting. Well, that part isn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring.
Well, the interesting thing was, it was over the summer. I had a cookout, and you came over, and we started talking, and that was the point where I realized, I'm like, holy shit, Roman plays with dead bodies. And if for work, not in like a weird Dexter sort of way.
No, it's definitely not weird.
So how was this something that you always were like, someday I am going to work with corpses, or was it more just that's where you kind of ended up?
No, it... So we'll summarize my my life journey. I wanted to design motorcycles.
Okay.
When I first started school, and I thought mechanical engineering was the way to go. I realized quickly that it was very boring.
Yeah.
That was a bit naive because I didn't finish the program.
Yeah.
But I got tired of doing all the math. So I wasn't sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing the engineering studies, I took a throwaway class for design appreciation, and we had a woman come in and speak about industrial design. I was like, that's it. That is it. That's what I want. That's what I want to do. But at that point, I was already a sophomore, and I went and I looked at the industrial design program. I had never heard of it before, didn't know what it was.
Yeah. But
I knew I wanted to do it. And the program at the school...
Well, I don't want to I mean, I do want to interrupt because I am interrupting. So what is industrial engineering?
Well, industrial engineering is designing factories.
I'm sorry, what's industrial designing?
That's the thing, is like it's something that most people don't know about. But basically, industrial design, it's a broad term like engineering. So there's a lot of different facets, and people do different things within it. But industrial design is designing stuff that is meant to be mass-produced. Mm-hmm. So anything that is going to be made on a large scale, like this microphone, it could look like anything, but it's styled a very specific way.
Right.
Industrial designers deal with the styling, the ergonomics. We're basically the bridge between art and engineering.
Right. So it's like the marriage of form and function.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I get to do all the fun stuff, the
Yeah.
creative stuff, the designing, the sketching, the coming up with crazy ideas, and I don't have to do the finished math
Oh,
to back it up.
that's
So
nice.
it's like the perfect thing. Like I work with engineers all day. That's the majority of the people I work with is engineering and marketing. And we walk in, and we're both looking at the problem from slightly different perspectives. Mm-hmm. I'm focused on how the person using the device is going to actually make it work.
Right.
The engineers are focused on...
Engineers are like, this works, but it's not comfortable.
Yeah,
I don't care. It
exactly.
works.
It
Yeah.
works. So what if no one can use it right? You
Right,
know,
right.
They just they need to be taught better.
Yeah.
But so I'm focused on like the person, the outside in design approach, and that's where the medical device is. Like if I was working in shoe design,
Yeah.
I'd be sketching awesome looking shoes every day.
Yeah.
That would be my job. Since I'm in medical devices, I'm mostly focused on how people use stuff and making it look cool.
Yeah.
So
So is that like a big factor in? Because I mean, just like anything else, is you could have two medical devices that do the exact same thing, but when they have to be sold to someone,
yeah.
so they're going to obviously buy the cool one.
But it's not just the cool one, but it's the one that is easy to use.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it cool.
Right.
So the surgeons might be taken in by a flashy appearance initially, but if they use it once and they want to throw it across the room, which they do sometimes.
I feel like that. Yeah.
So, all right, I'll say it. So I work in spine surgery,
Okay.
and spine surgery is very complex. Basically, you make any mistake and somebody's going to be either paralyzed or die. Mm-hmm. There's not much middle ground there.
Yeah.
So they can be very high tense situations.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Yeah. And surgeons do get pissed off when things are going
I
bad.
can't.
And they're long surgeries, too. You know,
So-
you're wearing lead, it's heavy, you're hot, you're uncomfortable, you've been there for 12 hours standing in the same position.
Yeah.
It's a miserable experience
And
for everybody.
it's like I had two parents. That's the stupidest thing I've ever said.
You had two.
I had two.
Tell me about that.
So my two parents, both kind of like at a young age, I looked at them both, and like my father worked very laborious jobs and would like come home and fall asleep on the couch, and like his body was destroyed from years of like heavy lifting, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. My mother was a nurse, and it's like, yeah, she worked in maternity, but still, if something fucked up, someone's dead.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't want to do that. Like, those are the two things where I'm like, those are jobs I do not want, and I fully respect anyone that does it. So I'm not even kind of surprised that someone throws stuff.
I haven't
Because-
personally seen it,
Yeah.
but I've heard many stories.
Oh, I bet.
I have seen...
Has
I've
anyone
seen
thrown
video.
anything that you've designed that you know of?
No. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't do that. My job is to make sure nobody throws anything.
Yeah.
That's the short answer. Yeah.
So when I first asked you to be on the podcast, I'm like, oh, recording Thursday, blah, blah, blah. You're like, oh, it's great because I'll be in the lab.
Yeah.
So what were you doing today?
So we're working on a whole new surgical approach to the spine, and developing a new approach requires a lot of trial. Mm-hmm. So we're evaluating instruments, evaluating prototypes that we're making internally, and you got to go in there, and the only way you can really see whether or not it's doing what it's supposed to is if you actually, use something that is a realistic simulation You can't use an animal because their anatomy is very different.
Right.
So we use cadavers. Or when we can get away with it, we'll use synthetic models.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's cadavers.
Cadavers.
Yeah.
Now,
they're treated with the greatest of respect.
and that's one thing. I mean, I've listened. Oh God, her last name I believe is Roach, and she wrote a few books, and one of them is about Mary Roach. Yes. And one of them is about death and kind of like what happens to bodies, and she talks about the body farm. And, and that's kind of like one of the things you hear the most is like, everyone is very respectful of, but I'm assuming it took some getting used to.
So that was interesting because before I did medical device, I used to design tools for plumbers and electricians and tradesmen. And that's a different world.
Yeah.
So when I interviewed for the job, one of the last things they asked me, like I go through all this interview about, design of instruments and design process. And at the very end, they're like, I forgot. Do you have a problem working with cadaveric tissue? I'm like, excuse me? It's like, dead bodies. And I was like, I don't know. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
How do you know? And they're like, well, if you're not reacting negatively now, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
But you should think about it. And then, so then your first time in the lab, they're like, okay, make sure you've eaten something.
But not too much?
Yeah.
Is it like that? Or
you want to eat a little bit before. You don't want to walk in on an empty stomach, especially if you're really queasy about the thought of it.
Yeah.
And if you start to feel, sick, walk out.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody pass out or vomit.
Yeah.
But I have seen people turn white. So
it's got to be so, like, I can't even imagine. It's got to be very surreal.
It gets, you get used to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Only one time did I feel a little bit queasy, and that was because of a comment that another person made. So oftentimes the spine has got a lot of stuff around it. So occasionally we will use what's referred to as an excised spine.
Okay.
So it's basically a spine that's been cut out of a person. Mm-hmm. And, it's mounted on it's mounted on a rack, and you're testing and doing your implementation. And somebody made a comment that it was a really small spine.
Oh.
And I looked at it again, and I was like, you know what? That's about the size of my son.
Oh, that's not the kind of connection you ever want to make.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's not. And but it wasn't remotely true because it was only a portion of the spine. It was cut at the thoracic.
Oh, right. But it's just the idea.
Yeah, the thought of that made me a little, like, oh, that doesn't feel right.
Right. Yeah.
But we only get adult specimens. Mm-hmm. Generally, they're elderly individuals.
Yeah.
And this one was just cut short.
Yeah.
So.
Just through the weirdness of life, I actually know two people that work with corpses, and the other one actually preps the specimens. Yeah. So, like, he would be the one that cutting the spine to send to you. At some point, we'll have to get you both on. That'd be interesting.
So
that'll be either really interesting or like the worst podcast ever.
We actually have a mortician on staff.
Oh, really?
In the office, yeah. So in the facility I work in, we actually have 3 labs where we can. They're basically 3 fake operating rooms, and we can set up a lot of stations in there. And to support that, we have a whole staff, including a mortician on staff, who handles all of the
parts.
Yeah.
Does it ever get to the point where, like, say you're designing this one tool and you need to do whatever testing you need to do, and you're all waiting for a sample to show up? Like, is there, like,
no,
how readily available? Like, I don't, like, can you go on eBay and get the shit? No. No, like,
what we usually do is we'll schedule a date.
Yeah.
Because in order to get everything prepared for a lab, it takes a fair amount of time. So we're getting our prototypes made, and there's a lead time on that. If we're going to get them out of metal, or if we're getting them out of plastic, or we're just cobbling together on our own, there's a certain amount of time that takes. Sometimes, since it's an active facility, they use it for training and things like that. They may have a training in the morning, and then you can sneak in at the end and do what you need to do. Yeah. So it depends. You have to schedule everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can get in there the next day if we have to. Sometimes you have to wait a week.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But what is there, like, one device that you feel like that you've worked on that is the most beneficial, or like one where, like, oh, this is definitely saved people or saved?
So it takes a long time to actually get this stuff out.
Well, how long have you actually been doing this? This specifically?
5 years.
5 years?
5 years, yeah. And in that time frame,
is it going to be something crazy like you've gotten 2 devices out or something?
Practically, yeah.
Really?
So we've. My focus initially was coming on the crazy stuff. Like what are we going to do 5-10 years down the road?
Yeah.
Not what are we going to put out next year.
Right.
So I did a lot of intellectual property development.
You're working on cyborgs. Tell me you're working on cyborgs.
Cyborgs are always yes, absolutely. Anytime you can put in a sensor, maybe you put an implant in somebody and you want to sensorize that so that it'll let you know whether or not things are healing properly, or you're getting an infection, or maybe it's going to send out radio signals so that they can track you. Who knows? But whenever you're coming up with these crazy ideas, you're like, okay, what can we include in this? In the patent, maybe we will never do it.
Roman, this is what I want from you. I want you to design.
Okay.
So if I'm on a long road trip, I want to be able to pick up my smartphone and delay my need to pee until the rest stop.
So you could actually probably do that. So there's
to explain.
So the spine is has a whole bunch of exiting nerve roots.
Yeah.
And every single one of those nerve roots that come out goes to a specific region of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at those, we're like zebras. And you have bands across your body that are controlled by different nerve roots.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the nerve roots kind of go the stripes like zebras.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So,
I was trying to get the...
Yeah, so there are nerve roots that control your bladder function.
So you can just shut those nerve roots off?
It's going to affect some other stuff. But maybe you could be a little more selective in it,
I shut those nerve roots off. I forgot what my childhood was like, but whatever.
No, it's like all of a sudden I'm peeing. I don't remember that. Maybe or stop not peeing. I can't pee. Yeah. You could do that. I wouldn't want to.
No, but just until you get to the right exit.
Yeah, it's like, here's the stop.
Yeah. Kind of like those things we can shut off and turn on your debit card. Just like that.
It might be easier to put a valve in. Do that instead.
So, what do you find to be... So, you were saying that someone came in and talked about industrial design.
Yep.
And that's when you were like, oh, that's what I wanted to do. So, initially you were talking about motorcycles. Do you ever think, like, you want to do this industrial design with motorcycles? Like, kind of move into that? Or are you kind of happy where you are?
So, like, I've wanted to do so many things in my life. And... for the longest time, I wanted to do, like, I've probably had like 20, 30 different plans for my life growing up.
I think everybody does.
Yeah, easily. So it wasn't, no, I don't want to design motorcycles anymore.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by them. I think they're beautiful. I love, the styling and the design of them.
Do you own one?
I do not.
Okay.
And I would love to.
I feel like that would have come up.
No, and I would.
Is there a person that their name begins with R that does not allow that, or
it's more like me?
Yeah,
because it's everyone I've ever known that has a motorcycle has been in an accident. It's not really a question of if, it's when.
And they're usually not. There's no fender benders.
No, there's no airbag.
Yeah,
and
the best case scenario, I knew a guy broke his ankle, and I'm like, you're pretty lucky.
Yeah, my father, I remember. He got a motorcycle when he was probably midlife crisis. So he was about 37. And within a year, he was in 3 major accidents.
Oh, Jesus.
And the final one totaled his bike. Not a single one of these were his fault.
Yeah. But, they don't have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's...
People just don't see you.
Right.
So the last one totaled his bike, and he basically still has shoulder and knee issues. So...
Can't you fix that?
No.
Design something to
Those-
robot
those-
leg.
those are
No,
the
make him
joints
a
guys.
robot leg.
I work with the guys that do that, but I don't focus on that. So.
So you work with guys that do like prosthetics and stuff?
Yeah.
Because it seems like that's been
So,
a very advancing technology has been really... The technology in that has been advancing very quickly, it seems like.
prosthetic joints
Yeah.
is massive business. So if you get a knee replaced, go for it. You got knee issues, get it replaced. Odds are really good you're going to have a very good result, and you'll be very happy. It'll last about 20 years, and you might need another one. But, about 98% of people that have a knee replacement, it's a good thing.
So what's like the one operation where you'd be like, yeah, don't do that unless you absolutely have to?
I hate to say it, but the results for spine surgery are far lower.
Well, there's a lot of shit that goes on there,
Yes,
you know. And
yes.
it's like we were saying, it's very delicate tissue, and
Yes. It's very complicated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for error. There's a lot of variability in the types of procedures that people do. Sometimes people have surgery when they shouldn't have surgery.
yeah,
And sometimes they have surgery and the nerve damage is already done. There's nothing that fixing the spine isn't going to fix that nerve damage. So we're working on improving that.
yeah. So, but that's gonna be pretty rewarding. That
It is.
to feel like, because I mean, I enjoy my job, and
love my job.
I know there's benefits to it, but I don't feel like someone's life has been greatly improved by my tweeting ability.
No, that's one of the things I really like about the job is that it's very rewarding. You feel like you're actually doing something positive
Yeah.
as you make these like advancements in technology. It affects real people's lives.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
that's really great. So the other reason why we get along so well is you're also a mutual or fellow nerd.
I am.
And
Absolutely.
did you see Rogue One?
I did.
And what'd you think?
I enjoyed it much more than the last one. Truly.
Then Force Awakens?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
All right, you can shut this off. We're done here. Wow. No, I'm curious now. See, now Fish has to weigh in. So now we're nerding out.
So.
Oh, no, he's just fucking with the mic. So why?
All right. So, Force Awakens.
Oh, he is coming to chime up.
Yeah. Was basically a rehash of the first three movies. They took all the best elements and said, okay, we're going to take all these things that made these first three movies great,
Yep.
and we're going to cram them into one movie, and we're going to come up with a plot that is very loosely tied to going from one sequence to the next sequence to the next sequence, with very little.
That is a very valid argument. I will give you that.
And the thing that really pissed me off the most about it,
But the planet thing was way bigger than the Death Star, so it's totally different.
I guess. It blew up 3 planets at once instead of just one.
Right, totally different.
Totally
Yeah,
different.
I don't know why you're saying it's the same thing. It's obviously
And like the Death Star was run by an old guy,
Yeah.
and the planet thing was the younger guy.
It's true.
So,
yeah.
No, the thing that really pissed me off the most about it was J.J. Abrams did a very J.J. Abrams thing, and he threw in that monster sequence when they're on Han Solo's ship that completely did not fit
You know what?
anything Star Wars.
I will agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
I really like that movie, and so I kind of honestly forgot about that part.
which
But-
is not
but-
a good sign. That
but
it's like,
when-
oh yeah, that happened.
When it
and
was
I didn't care.
happening,
Yeah.
I will agree that I was kind of like, yeah, this part.
It was totally useless and
It was.
pointless. And it's in every single one of J.J. Abrams' films, his sci-fi films. Like, if you watch the Star Treks he's done,
Yep.
there's always that one monster sequence
always-
that doesn't fit
Yeah.
the story at all. It's just there.
Well, I think a big part of what Abrams did with both Star Wars and the
This is Fish speaking now. Since we got all nerdy, he had to come over and talk.
I can actually contribute. I can contribute to the art stuff. I can contribute to the nerding out.
Yeah.
But one thing that it seems like he did with both the Force Awakens and the Star Trek reboot is that he tends to, like, he's not doing anything super new with it. He's very much trying to get that feel of what you liked to get you to like it.
He's working
now.
with the nostalgia.
He's basically he's trying to play. I mean,
copying.
Well, yeah.
I
If you
was
want to
saying
be
working with nostalgia.
well, if you want to be honest about it, yeah, he's basically going through and
I mean, but not in a good way. Like when
you guys have just totally ruined some movies. Like I knew it, but when you like lump it all together,
it's like
no, I still like The Force Awakens. It worked as a movie. It more or less worked as a movie.
I liked it. There was a lot of things
Like
I really
all of
I'm
the,
hoping the next
all
one is
of the
better.
new characters worked, which
Is he
is
directing the
super
next one?
important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. He keeps making shit tons of
I don't
money.
know.
He's gonna
I
keep giving to
I
movies.
still like. There was the 2 Abrams Star Treks, and then there was the last one that came out. And
the last one blew. Sorry.
I'm gonna fight you both.
First of all, the thing that fucking killed me was they stole the ending from Mars Attacks, and in Mars Attacks it works because it's campy and tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
and the Western music kills the aliens.
Yeah.
And in Star Trek, the Beastie Boys kills the aliens,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And
I didn't
there was
like...
parts of that movie that I really liked, but
Yeah.
that just so.
So-
just
So Star Trek has so much canon behind it. There's the history from the series.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much history involved and storylines you can build off of, and they did that well with the first 2. Like, oof. Okay,
We're gonna
So-
talk.
go back to your computer.
so the first in the first one, like they created it's an alternative reality,
Right.
So
Yeah.
they can do whatever they want, but these characters still exist. So and then you get Khan, who looks totally different. But anyway,
Yeah, that,
but it was cool. I was like, it's Khan.
wasn't.
He's like this genetically modified human. He's badass.
God, all I have to hear about is that shit happened before the change of time. I'm like, oh, come on.
it's not just that they recast him as a white guy, but the whole reason Rathacon was good is because it was building off a past.
Episode, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the whole
Which
point
he looked
of
totally different.
The whole point,
than
well,
that
and it's not
episode.
just it's not just that, but it's the whole point of Rathacon is that Khan's history with it was a very personal.
It was a vengeance.
It was a vengeance movie.
Yeah.
It was a very personal movie. By bringing back Khan without bringing back any reason, it's a waste of the character. It's such a completely pointless. Like, why? They basically brought in Khan because it was the second Star Trek movie, and that's it. So the next one, they're
he
going
was
to go
a
back in
badass.
time and save the
It
goddamn
was
whales.
badass.
He's a badass.
I
It
thought
was
they
such
brought
a
him-
waste. There are so many
I
more.
really enjoyed that movie.
I did.
Up
Yeah.
until I can't even remember who we went with. Was like, wow,
Running
that was
and Crying with
that
Hats.
was Star Trek Running and Crying with Hats, and I'm like, oh yeah, like everyone was running and or crying.
It was not a good movie.
Yeah. I
Like, I honestly, I
It
liked
was better than the last one.
See, I'd argue. I
Trek
disagree with
Beyond.
that. I thought Beyond was a better movie than
Beyond
Into
was
Darkness.
there was no story there. It was just like
It-
you could sum up that
the
story.
Beastie Boys killed the aliens.
Yes, that's it.
Horrible.
That's
See,
Like
the storyline.
it's so bad that like I can't. There was the pretty white faced girl,
Yeah.
and then the Beastie Boys killed the aliens. That's all I remember about that movie.
and
I
I
feel
still
awful
liked it
because-
more than the second one because the second one had a good Star Trek movie in there. If you cut out everything involving Benedict Cumberbatch completely and just made it RoboCop as the evil authoritarian guy, that's a good Star Trek movie.
RoboCop was
RoboCop.
good.
Peter Weller,
I don't.
Oh, right.
RoboCop.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not crazy, right?
No. Yeah. No. You're right.
Unrelated,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. No. I just
Like
kind of forgot about
the
that.
movie where he's trying to take a more militaristic, authoritarian rule of Starfleet, and the other guys that are in Kirk and Spock going, "No, this is not who we are. This is not what we do." That's a fucking Star Trek movie because it's Star Trek. It is sci-fi action, very thinly covering
you've lost
social
some of our
messaging.
audience.
I don't. Yes, because we don't have a bunch of goddamn nerds listening to this.
No, I know. I just like making fun of you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
Kind
sorry.
of my reason for being.
God, I'm happy. I'm glad I've given you purpose.
So, because I'm going to cut them off. 'Cause it's fun. They can't see you give me the finger.
It wasn't for them. It was for you.
Oh, okay. I saw it. So, expanding on nerdiness, who's your favorite DM?
Well, I'm sorry.
Just remember that your fate is in my hands.
You're a
So,
little, you might make the top three.
I'll take that.
The thing is that as much of a nerd as I am, I've only played D&D with you guys.
Yeah, but that's something you started. How has that been? Like,
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Was it kind of what you expected, or?
Yeah, I mean, like I tried to in the past, but we never had we never stuck to it.
Yeah,
you'd start a campaign, and then like an hour, and you're like, what else are we doing?
Yeah, it is a commitment.
Yeah,
and you need, if not everyone's committed, then you got to get the right group.
And I was probably 10 when that happened. Too,
that's just that happens a lot.
It's been a while.
And then he went to the Upside Down, and
no, I used to play a lot of role playing video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of fantasy. I mostly read science fiction, but I have also read a large amount of fantasy. So,
what was your favorite book?
That's way too open of a question.
What is your favorite sci-fi book? Is that better?
That's not really.
No,
I didn't realize you were such a reader.
I'd have to list several because I don't have one.
If you're going to recommend something to our listeners that's recently caught your attention,
recently,
kind of like something you've read recently, and you're like, that's good.
All right, so recently I've been reading the latest books in the Expanse series, so books 4 and 5.
In the Expanse series,
The Expanse. If you watch Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, the show was
The Expanse.
really good.
Oh, I've never heard of it. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I've seen. I haven't read the books mainly because I'm avoiding them because it was one of the writers is George R. R. Martin's assistant.
Yes,
and I'm just really entertained with the fact that he's put out more books than Martin has. Especially
but he
in the
hasn't
last
made nearly as
5
much
years.
money.
That's true.
Honestly, I think the show's better.
I've actually only seen like the first couple episodes of the show. I've read all the books.
The show is honestly, the show's great. The show is very good.
Yeah.
From what I've understand, it differs a bit from the books, but you have to do that just because you're telling it. It's a different medium. It's a different story, but it's especially for like Sci-Fi Channel effects budget. It's a really goddamn good show.
I'm waiting for it to come out on Netflix, and I'm going to watch them all. But it hasn't.
Yeah, I assume it's going to show up like the week before the show comes out.
I don't have cable.
Actually, it might be on Amazon Prime.
I don't have Amazon Prime.
Oh, Amazon Prime's good.
Amazon, it's
Man in the High Castle. So good. Yeah. So, being a sci-fi fan.
Wait. I need to give you some more books.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah.
You're the guest.
Yeah.
Tell us stuff.
I'm also reading Peter F. Hamilton. So I'm a big fan of space opera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big, vast stories, lots of people, massive scale time. So right now I'm reading the Faller series. So it's the second book in the Faller series, but it's actually the fifth book in the continuing
I'm
series.
familiar with him. I haven't read a ton of his stuff.
So you have to be dedicated to want to read him because most of his books are about 1,100 pages long.
Are there a lot of pictures?
No pictures.
Yes, they're all illustrated.
And he
just draws like 1,100 page coloring books, Andy.
Yeah.
All right.
So you got this.
Right on.
He writes very descriptively. And that's one of the things I like because he really explores different types of social interactions and when people can like mind meld or communicate or live for hundreds of years. All those things, what's going to happen with society. And most of that stuff is like secondary to the storyline, but it's there and it's written in great detail. So if you wanted to summarize the storyline, you could do it in a couple pages.
Yeah.
But he like blows it out in so much detail. I find that fascinating, though.
So, you would probably make a good DM then, where like
maybe
the fascinating part to you would be like the world building, and making the different.
But that takes too much
cultures.
dedication.
The amount
it can be
of
time consuming.
The amount of work that we think that you put in is goddamn impressive.
I have very little free time,
and that was a little backhanded,
of course.
but it's also from what I've seen from other DMs.
To me, I took it as a compliment, and that's even backhanded from you is something. But yeah, I mean, you
Don't worry,
married, you got kids.
We'll make the final
edit. Are we going to edit it?
Oh, yeah. Can't be nice to you live.
So, being a fan of sci-fi, is there something in sci-fi that you've ever read that you're like, I want to design that tool?
So yes,
Like the tricorder, like,
so
because I keep seeing online that's coming.
no, well maybe
It's
but
online. It has to be true.
it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the thing that really struck me, and this is a very strong memory because this really grabbed me when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, I read The Fountain.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah,
it's
it was a
about-
movie. They did it as a movie with Hugh Jackman, I think.
No, it's not about the Fountain of Youth.
No, there's a movie called The Fountain.
I believe you.
All right. I'm sorry, that's what I thought you were referencing.
I'm blanking on the title of the story, but it's basically about the space elevator. It was the first novel about the concept of a space elevator by Isaac Asimov. It wasn't the first. He didn't come up with the concept.
Yeah.
It was theorized by people before him, but he popularized the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I read that book when I was in high school, and I was like, this would totally freaking work. And I was like, this is amazing. This is brilliant. Why aren't we doing this? And then I started to learn about material science. I was like, okay, that's why we're not doing it.
Yeah.
It'll break.
But the thing is that material science has evolved significantly, and we're close to the point where we can actually do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know, but there are people out there that are actively working on building a space elevator. There's some nice documentaries about it. There's several companies that are pursuing this.
Well, I know SpaceX is like very involved.
No, SpaceX is not doing an elevator. SpaceX
Oh,
is
really?
doing
They're
rockets.
doing-
But I
they
figured
want-
they were
They're
doing anything
rockets.
like
No,
that.
no.
Oh, God,
okay.
I don't think you can afford to put the resources into both privately.
Yeah.
If you had an elevator, you wouldn't need SpaceX.
True.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can do SpaceX right now, but as soon as they can build an elevator, there will
Be no
hardly be any
SpaceX.
rocket ships anymore.
Yeah.
No need.
Well, wouldn't they leave from space?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
So,
you
it
would-
wouldn't be.
You'd ship your
Earthbound.
components up, and then you launch them somewhere.
Yeah.
That'd be freaking awesome. Can't wait.
So why don't you make that?
Because I do medical devices.
Oh, and you'd have to move to the equator.
Exactly.
I think it's hot there, like really, like Africa hot.
Shit.
Yeah, but only like middle of Africa hot, not like.
It's the fountain of heaven. No.
You
I'm
can look
so
it up.
pissed off
Research.
that I can't remember the name of this
You have
book.
one job.
Yeah, but I left my phone and.
That's it. You're fired.
You're not paying me.
I know. So you're still fired.
Go ahead.
So space elevator. But is there something in the medical field that you've read about that you think?
That I want to do?
Yeah,
Robots.
like nanobots, or more like
We're not there yet.
exoskeletons, or
No, like surgical robots. Like you like in the movies,
yeah,
you lay down in this pod and you're like, oh, I would like, a
And like the
vasectomy. Beep, and then you
A what?
you'd like a what?
a vasectomy.
Okay, you say that like we know what that is.
So
You say that like it's real and we should know
it is
what
a real thing.
See, okay, I wasn't
it's
sure.
It's a thing in spine surgery.
Oh, God, yeah, see, obviously,
so-
Andy, we're not.
So like I'd like an MIST lift, which stands for minimally invasive transforaminal lumbar interbody fusion.
Well, I feel like robots for spinal surgery would be a huge advancement.
Huge,
Simply because it takes out human error.
and that
And
is a
puts
real
in-
problem.
Yeah,
So I want to do robot.
that'd be cool. That'd be very cool. And it would change like MASH surgery completely.
So I don't know if you're familiar, but there is the Da Vinci robot.
No, what is that?
So there is a surgical robot
Okay.
that is utilized primarily for.
Oh, is that the Da Vinci robot?
That's the
I
Da
think
Vinci
I've heard
robot.
about that.
So that one, it looks like a giant six-armed monster, kind of, and but it's mostly for intestinal and abdominal surgeries. They use a lot for like kidney and spleens and just intestinal stuff.
Yeah.
Soft stuff on the inside. There's only really one robot that's geared towards spine surgery, and it looks like a soda can with an arm. It's really boring. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's so boring.
This is his job. His job is
It's
to make that
so boring, but it saves somebody.
Not really.
But
All
his
it does
job
is
is to
point
make
to the
it-
right spot.
His job is to
Okay,
make it look cool while it does that. If it doesn't look cool, no
So,
one's gonna
so
care.
Roman is going to redesign it so it looks like a beer bottle with an arm.
That's right.
And the Darks are like, I want that one.
No, I want to make or work on a surgical system that is similar in that it has robotic arms, but is doing the entire procedure.
Yeah.
And they don't have that yet. Not for spine surgery.
No.
So
Well, it seems like that'd be insanely complex. Just
Do
because
you
you
think?
were saying,
Do you think the robot technology we have now is even close to that?
we're yes,
Really?
yes. 5 to 10 years.
I've seen Asimo dance and run, but not do surgery.
5 years from now, people will be getting significant numbers of robotic surgery. Yes,
Wow.
it's happening. It is coming.
You've heard it here first. Groundbreaking news on Inebri-art.
Yeah.
Where-
You're gonna take
Where
your,
Inebri comes before your surgery.
you're gonna take your driverless car to the hospital.
God, those scare me.
I
Those scare
cannot
me
wait.
so much.
see,
I'm
I'm not
so excited about getting a driverless
See, here's
car.
the problem. I've seen people who should not be driving.
Yeah.
I don't know if the robots would inherently be worse than
It's not that. It's
most
not
everyone.
It's not that. It's the. I suppose that if it gets to the point where everyone has driverless cars, they'll have worked this out. I just see huge traffic jams where some jackass turned on his driverless, app on his car, fallen asleep, and it's run out of gas on I-93 in rush hour. And
Vehicles will be
well, see,
smart enough to know how
The
much
thing
gas.
is, if
Yeah.
you've got a
But-
driverless app, your car is basically set up to go, yeah, dumb fuck, I can't do that. And
Yeah, but-
it will pull off and get its own fucking gas.
The cars are smart enough to do that, and people are dumb enough to fuck it up.
There will be a transition period.
That will be really awkward.
It
and
will be painful.
Yes.
There will be some serious accidents.
There may be a death
I'm
or two.
honestly
Or
surprised.
7.
Yeah, but I'm still can't wait. I'm still so freaking excited. It's going to
Well,
revolutionize
but
our
he
society.
even needs these corpses. He needs
We need
like
donors.
710X is like, all right, how many are we getting? No.
But I mean, even with GPS, there was a real learning curve with GPS, and people still fuck it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Where people are turning down railroad tracks. And,
There's a Darwin thing going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm honestly surprised that it hasn't shown up more in mass transit than anything else.
But driverless.
Driverless.
There are driverless tractor trailers on the roads right now.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying tractor trailers. I'm saying like
Where?
On our interstates.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. They have a person
In your
behind the
driveway.
wheel, but that person is just sitting there.
in reading and
Yes.
watching porn.
Well, they're supposed to. They're
Watching
monitoring
porn.
it. And
I'm
I
sorry.
love that's if I'm on the highway and doing nothing. Yep.
yeah.
If you're
Ex
a truck
hamster. You're a sick bastard.
Yeah, like FedEx, DHL, UPS, all those vehicles are going to wind up becoming self-driving vehicles first
Yeah.
because it makes the most sense for them.
Sure. Yeah.
And things are pretty predictable on the freeway.
Yeah.
When you start getting to in-town driving is where it gets more complicated.
Right.
But it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so freaking awesome.
Well, I mean, like you saw the very first taste of it when they had the cars that parallel park themselves.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that
nobody
was
uses that. Nobody uses
no,
that.
but that was like the moment where you're like, shit.
Yeah.
We're this
Yeah.
close.
So that's the thing.
But
you know,
no, please, if anyone's listening and has the ability to do this, no flying cars. It's a horrible idea. There is no small accident with a flying car.
No.
There's horrific body counts. I
What
mean,
you
it's good
need-
for you.
Well, like 2.
Yeah.
2, there's shit falling out of the sky.
Yeah, but like each one is only going to kill like a couple people at
Yeah.
most.
What you really need is a self-driving car with Netflix. And yeah, it may take you longer than a flying car, but you're not going to, you're not going to think about how long you're in.
Oh,
No,
no.
you're gonna take the scenic route because god damn it, I've got one more fucking episode. Detour. You're gonna have a goddamn detour
Reroute.
button. You're gonna have the
Reroute.
detour button because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I need your
Extra
commute is going to be okay. I've got 3 more episodes.
How long is your commute? Oh, 1 episode of Game of Thrones.
It's like, I want to watch... Okay, guys, I'm going to do a cross-country trip. I'm going to binge watch Stranger Things. That is how long it's going to take. That is how far I'm going. And on the way back, I'll watch something else.
I don't know if you've ever driven cross-country, but you need more than Stranger Things.
I was going to say, that's a long ride.
Yeah.
It's only 1 season.
I've done it a few times. You need more.
Really? For pleasure, or...
I
feel like the Route 66 thing would be cool. But
I've driven on portions of Route 66.
Yeah.
So, when I ever told you, I wound up getting a degree in sculpture first.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I studied mechanical engineering, wanted industrial design. I couldn't afford it. It was a 5-year program. I was already been in school for 2 years. I couldn't do that, and I had a mandatory summer program at the university I was at. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to do sculpture and then go back to school. So I did that. And when I was going back to school, I got my degree in sculpture, and I was stocking shelves at a grocery store, literally stocking feminine hygiene products, and thinking to myself, what the hell did I do? I've got a degree in sculpture. I've got no job prospects. I'm screwed.
But I've made these tampons into a bird.
Yeah. So I got a job opportunity working for the government as a government contractor, and I was like, all right, moved to upstate New York, did that for a couple of years, and I told my boss, I'm leaving in August, and he's like, why? I was like, well, I'm going to go back to school. And
feminine hygiene products need to be stocked. I can't be taken around here.
So they didn't believe me, but I submitted my resignation, and I packed up my Volvo station wagon and drove cross country.
Those are nice cars, actually. I had a friend who had one. I loved that car.
It didn't have air conditioning, and it didn't have a radio.
That sounds like a terrible car. I retract my previous statement.
And I drove from upstate New York to Phoenix, Arizona, by myself. I had never been to Phoenix, Arizona before.
From upstate New York?
Yeah.
That's not even across the country.
It's kind of...
That's just about...
It was almost all the way.
That's like how you measure TV.
So I did that to go to Arizona State University.
Yeah.
And I should have, gotten accepted before I did that. But I didn't.
Yeah, whatever.
So I was like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go to this school.
It's like... Hey, I'm here to go to school. Who the hell are you?
That's what I did, basically. Yeah. So, I just packed up my shit and drove over there. Got there and got a phone and got an apartment. And then I joined the military because I couldn't find a job. So
what branch were you in?
I was in the National Guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then, I got my degree there and been doing industrial design since. So, yeah.
Well, Roman, this has been fun. And we will have to hang out again soon because we need to play D&D.
Let's do it.
And we'll definitely get you back with Jared on the podcast sometimes because I feel like that's going to be like either fantastic or like you don't put the gatekeeper and the keymaster in the same room at the same time. But for our listeners, you can always... Oh, excuse me. That was rude. You can always join Inebri-art on the first Monday of every month for our life drawing at the New World Tavern here in Plymouth. Usually starts around 7. It's $8 to get in, and bring whatever you feel like working in. Roman has been there multiple times.
Yes.
And, it's a blast. And next... Well, this will be going up in February, so we would have just had Jennifer Evie back. So, yeah, she'll be back.
I'll be there.
And also, this is groundbreaking news. April 7th, 8th, and 9th is Super Mega Fest, which is, I should have looked this up ahead of time, I believe is in Marlborough, Mass. You better Google that because I might be wrong. And there will be an Inebri-art contingency there. I will be there myself, selling some sketches, artwork, prints and whatnot, talking about the podcast, hopefully recording some interviews with some people, and we have about 6 other artists who are all related to Inebri-art in one way or another. Past podcast guests who will be there with us, and it'll be good time. Come hang out and meet some celebrities, meet some Inebri-art people, and have some fun. Roman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely have you back because I feel like we just scratched the surface. So